So can you starve the tumor cell of their fermentable fuels and kill them? And the answer is absolutely. It's an elegant, beautiful system. And when it's done right, you can't believe how well it works. Problem is, nobody is doing that.
Dr. Thomas N. Seyfried is a distinguished scholar with a robust academic and professional background in genetics and biochemistry. He earned his Ph.D. from the University of Illinois Urbana in 1976, following his undergraduate studies at the University of New England, where he was recently honored with the Distinguished Alumni Achievement Award. Additionally, he holds a master's degree in genetics from Illinois State University. Throughout his career, Dr. Seyfried has been recognized by prestigious organizations such as the American Oil Chemists Society, the National Institutes of Health, the American Society for Neurochemistry, and the Ketogenic Diet Special Interest Group of the American Epilepsy Society. He has also played a pivotal role as the chair of the Scientific Advisory Committee for the National Tay-Sachs and Allied Diseases Association. He is also the author of the influential book, Cancer as a Metabolic Disease, on the origin, management, and prevention of cancer, which has garnered significant attention in the scientific community.
Without energy, nothing can survive or grow. So you say to yourself, well, we breathe air, we exhale CO2, we produce CO2 and water from the foods that we eat. You and I are having a conversation. We're talking. Obviously, there's energy going on somewhere in our brains and the rest of our body. And that allows us to do what we do. Now, if you and I were to take a cup of cyanide and we would both drink it together, neither of us would have much energy. We would both fall and collapse right in front of the screens. Let me put it another way. If you and I both had tumors growing in our body, and we were both drinking the cyanide together, and someone would say, whoa, what a catastrophe. These two guys that think they know what they're doing just killed themselves, but they had cancer. So we're going to take the tumor out, and we're going to look at it. And the tumor cells would be fine. The cyanide would not kill the tumor cells. So we say, whoa, what's going on? How is it possible that the cyanide killed these folks, but it didn't kill their tumor? And the answer is the tumor doesn't use oxygen for energy. It uses fermentation for energy. So Warburg did those experiments years ago, given rats that had tumors cyanide, and the rat died, but not the tumor. And it was clear evidence that the tumors are not using oxygen for their survival. So what are they living on? How are they growing and alive if they're not using oxygen? And it turns out that they use fermentation. So that fermentation is a form of energy that bypasses oxygen. So that's interesting. They're fermenting, huh? Well, what are the fuels that are driving their fermentation metabolism? What are they using? And it's glucose, the sugar glucose, and the amino acid glutamine. And those are the two fermentable fuels that allow cancer cells to grow. So the answer to your question is, yes, cancer cells live, and can you starve them? We know they're fermenting. And we know that they can't live without fermentable fuels, and you know that there are only two fermentable fuels that are keeping them alive, then you target and take those two fermentable fuels away, and they die. And then your question is, well, if that's so simple, how come no one's doing it? And the answer is because everybody thinks cancer is a genetic disease. They're not thinking about what's keeping the cells alive.
So one way to starve a cancer cell is to inhibit these primitive, literally pre-oxygen metabolic pathways by removing their preferred fermentable fuels. Dr. Seyfried points out that cancer cells cannot ferment ketone bodies, which are readily used for energy by healthy cells. Where ketone bodies are present, in the absence of glucose and glutamine, cancer cells literally starve, while healthy cells, which can survive on ketone bodies and fatty acids, continue to function normally. Tumors may shrink or even disappear. Elevated ketone bodies are a hallmark of the ketogenic diet. A clinical version of this diet is integral to a multifaceted metabolic treatment that Seyfried calls press pulse therapy. It should be noted that just going keto is not a cancer treatment. Medical supervision is required, and press pulse also includes tailored administration of glucose and glutamine suppressing drugs, hyperbaric oxygen treatment, and intensive stress management.
The goal is two steps. Number one, you bring the patient into nutritional ketosis, which is a GCAG, glucose ketone index, which we published, a quantitative measure to allow cancer patients. I did it for cancer patients, but now I see all these young, healthy guys all wanting to get low GKI because their mitochondria get super healthy when they're burning ketones. So you said, how do I keep my mitochondria healthy? You burn the ketones. Exercise, absolutely. Exercise and ketones. This is the normal state of humans. We existed in nutritional ketosis for the most of our existence on the planet. So the solution to the cancer problem is not that complicated. You have to restrict availability of glucose and glutamine while transitioning the whole body over to ketone bodies, which can be done with calorie-restricted ketogenic diets, water-only fasting. Now, glucose targeting is easy. You can do that with diets and fasting and this kind of thing. But you need drugs to target the glutamine. You need drugs there's no food. People say, oh, what can I eat? No. Glutamine is produced in our bodies. We have to use drugs to target the glutamine. Exercise can restrict glutamine somewhat, but not completely. So water-only fasting or restricted ketogenic diets will significantly lower blood sugar. And then at that time, you need to take certain drugs. Now, we have a beautiful drug called 6-deoxynorlucine, DON. It was used in the clinics to manage children cancer and adult cancer. It was not effective. It was a little too toxic. They didn't know how to use the drug. It was used as a singular entity given with glucose. Can you believe this? And then they said it didn't work. So
I think they've had lots of situations like that, like vitamin C.
Yeah, well, vitamin C you can't eat. The tumor cell can't use vitamin C as energy. What vitamin C does is creates oxidative stress, and under low glucose and low glutamine conditions, IV vitamin C can facilitate killing of the tumor cells, just like hyperbaric oxygen can. Mm-hmm. So oxidative stress. Now, you want to kill tumor cells, radiation and toxic drugs create oxidative stress, but they also damage significantly normal tissues.
Yeah.
Is it possible to create oxidative stress in breast cancer cells or any other cancer cell without creating collateral damage? That's the key. And the answer is absolutely. So what we do is for the cancer patients I'm not a physician, so I can't treat anybody, but I can certainly guide physicians in treating their patients. And what we do is we get the patient into a state of nutritional ketosis, first off, make sure they get healthy. A lot of cancer patients, they have obesity, type 2 diabetes, they have hypertension, high blood pressure, sometimes parasitic infections. You can't believe how unhealthy some people are. So we have to clean that up. Okay, step one, get cleaned up. And by water-only fasting, zero carbohydrate diets, we slowly bring the body back into a new state of metabolic homeostasis. And then at Boston College here, we developed the glucose ketone index calculator, which is a ratio of blood glucose to blood ketones in the blood, circulating level of glucose to ketone. So what we have found, and this is diet irrelevant, what we have found, if a cancer patient can get the ratio down to 2.0 or below, preferably below, the tumor cells start to get hammered, because now you're putting them under incredible metabolic stress, and that will really downregulate the ability of the tumor cell to survive. But they can hang on because they're using some of that glutamine. So you come in with the pulse. And the pulsing now, you use glutamine targeting drugs while the patient is in nutritional ketosis under low glucose conditions. And gradually you start to tear down and break down the tumor. And as I said, also the diabetes goes away. High blood pressure goes away. Obesity goes away. All these things go away along with the cancer.